Welcome everyone to our Agent How-Tos. In this episode, we are focusing on how to properly fill out the data entry forms, specifically the revised 2017 Quarter 4 form. I do want to remind you all that every quarter this form is slightly changed. Some things become more streamlined and others are just done away with. So what we learned today are the principal parts of the form and should be adjusted to stay current with the updated forms. If you have any questions about this, please do not hesitate to leave us a comment with your question or shoot us an email. We would be happy to help. First things first, when filling out a data entry form, make sure that you have the proper one. You can find these forms online through Form Simplicity, Transaction Desk, on the My Florida Regional website, or on our website through the Agent Services tab. When filling out the data entry form, if you've printed it out in color, you will start by filling in everything that has red font with an asterisk. If you're filling it out on a black and white print, go by anything with just a single asterisk. It is important to note that when answering yes to some questions with red font and an asterisk, you may come across other boxes that must be filled in but will not have any identification to do so. I'll explain more when we come to those. Start by filling in all the obvious data: listing date, expiration date, and list price. This information can be found on your listing agreement signed by the seller. Again, you are filling in everything with red font and an asterisk, so if I do not bring it up, that doesn't mean that it should not be filled in. I'm just focusing on the most important parts that are sometimes forgotten about. Moving on, when you go to fill in the address, you only need the street number, street name, city, state, zip code, and county, unless it's an apartment, condo, or duplex. If that's the case, you must also fill out the floor number, building number of floors, building name and number, and the floors in the unit. Continuing, you will check whether the home is auction. Note, if you check yes on this, you must provide further information such as auction type, auction property access, auction firm website, and buyer's premium. When you get to the property style selection, you must choose a style type. If you select mobile home, you will have to check off whether the style is prefabrication or mobile home, and whether it is a single, double, or triple wide. The more information the better when it comes to filling out the data entry form. But again, you are only required to fill out anything with an asterisk. If you are having trouble finding some information and the seller is not sure themselves, and even if they are, it is always a good idea to reference the tax record from the corresponding county to see all the information on the home. Using the tax record, you can begin to fill in all the land and tax information as well. Don't forget, if the property being sold is the residence in which the seller resides, you must check off homestead as yes. You will also see whether the home is in a community development district or a CDD on the tax record as well. Make sure you select the source from where you got your square footage of the home. When it comes to the room dimensions, the only ones that are required are the master bedroom, the living room, and the kitchen. You will need the room levels and the widths for all 3 rooms and every room added after that. Having the floor covering for each room is a bonus but is not needed in order to have the property listed. If yes is selected for any of the water options, more information must be selected after that. For example, if yes is selected for water access, then you must select what type of water access there is: lake, pond, bay, etc. If yes is selected for water frontage, then you must select what type of water it is and how many feet the water frontage is. If anything is selected in the green tab, you will have to provide proper documentation of said objects. For the owner tab, please include what type of ownership it is. If the home is an income property and there are tenants currently living in it, you will select yes on existing lease or tenant, and you will have to include whether it is month-to-month or weekly and the end of lease date. Moving on to the community tab. If the home is in an HOA community, you will be required to include the HOA fee in the HOA payment schedule. You can choose to include community features, but it is not required. However, the fees included is required and you must select at least one of the options listed below. If the home you are listing is in a community for older persons, you will have to go onto the Florida Commission on Human Relations website, find the community, and enter in the expired renewal date for said community. For the pet section, if yes is selected, you must state whether there are pet restrictions. If there are, you will have to fill out the number of pets, max pet weight, pet size, and include text for pet restrictions. If you select yes for can property be leased, you will have to select the minimum lease period and whether there are years of ownership required prior to leasing. If you select yes, then you must say how many years are required. When yes is selected for either lease restrictions or association approval required, you must include text for both stating those restrictions. From the Realtor's Information tab, you will select what financing is available, add your information, and then add the compensation, all of which can be found in the listing agreement signed by the seller. For showing instructions, you can select up to 16 options. Although the showing time secure remarks is not in red font and does not have an asterisk, you will have to include text of what the agent will have to know in order to access the home. Lockbox combination, the phone number to the owner, etc. Then you will check off yes or no for what sites you would like your listing to be shared to. From there, we move to the last section. You have 1,530 characters to describe why your home is unique in the public remarks. And you will also have to include driving directions to get to your property. Many agents fill this information out with the seller, so have them sign and date it, you do the same, and then you'll have yourself a completed data entry form. I hope that you learned something from this tutorial and that you'll be able to use this as an aid whenever you stumble across an issue when filling this form out in the future. We would love to hear any questions you might have and if you have any other ideas for future tutorials. For now, we leave you hopefully with a sense of accomplishment and some newfound knowledge. And don't forget, here at Homevest, you've got a friend in real estate.